So, if you really want to get a handle on the powerful life philosophy of billionaire investor Ray Dalio, we're not going to start where you think. We're not starting with his success. No, we're starting with his most profound and crushing failure.
I mean, listen to how he described his lowest point. That's some brutal honesty right there. This wasn't just a bad day at the office. This was a full-blown crisis that nearly wiped out everything he'd spent years building and brought him to his knees, both professionally and personally. So after this epic public failure, after losing pretty much everything, his entire new reality boiled down to this one single number: $4,000.
And get this, that wasn't even his money. He literally had to go to his dad and borrow that cash just to keep the lights on. We're not just talking about a market miscalculation here. This was personal rock bottom.
Okay, so what was this huge failure? Let's rewind to 1982 and look at the massive public bet that changed his life forever.
See, back in '82, Dalio was, by his own admission, pretty arrogant. He was absolutely convinced he knew what was coming, and he bet everything, I mean everything, on a U.S. economic collapse. His prediction was super controversial, and as he puts it, he was dead wrong. And then the market did the exact opposite. It took off on what would become an 18-year bull run, and his company, Bridgewater, it was basically just him, left in the rubble. But here's the crazy part. This absolute disaster, it turned into his greatest teacher. Being so wrong so publicly forced him to completely rethink everything. He had to build a new philosophy, one built around facing hard truths, especially the painful ones. And that's where his famous principles come from. They literally rose from the ashes of that failure. Now, these aren't some super complicated academic theories. Think of them more like smart rules of thumb for dealing with stuff that life throws at you again and again, learned from messing up and then really thinking about why. And this idea right here became the engine for his whole comeback. He realized that pain isn't something you should run away from. It's actually a signal, a blinking light telling you that there's a huge lesson waiting for you if you're just willing to look. The formula is so simple but so powerful. Pain plus reflection equals progress. Okay, that's a great idea, right? Pain plus reflection equals progress. But how do you actually do that? How do you make it a real system that you can use? Well, Dalio created a framework that anyone can follow. He calls it the 5-step process. This gets to the heart of the problem he was trying to solve, not just for himself, but really for anyone. How can you systematically get better and hit your goals, especially when things get tough and painful? And this is the process he came up with. Step 1, have clear goals. Know what you're chasing. Step 2, identify the problems. You're going to hit roadblocks, so name them. Step 3, diagnose those problems. Don't just treat the symptoms, find the real root cause. Step 4, design a plan to get around them. And finally, step 5, execute. You got to actually do the work. And this isn't a one-and-done thing. He sees it as this constant loop, always spiraling upward, making you better and better. But just having the 5 steps on paper isn't the magic bullet. Dalio realized there are 2 huge, really deep-seated barriers inside all of us that can completely derail the whole thing. First up, you've got the ego barrier. You know what this is. It's that voice in your head that hates being wrong, the one that hears criticism and immediately feels like it's a personal attack. It stops you from seeing your own weaknesses. And then there's the blind spot barrier. This one's a little trickier. It's the simple, humbling fact that you can't see the whole picture. None of us can. We're all wired differently, and thinking you see everything is, well, it's a dangerous illusion. So, okay, if we're all wired with these egos and blind spots, what do we do? How do you get past them? Dalio's answer is what he calls his holy grail, and it's all about bringing other people into the picture. It all starts with this massive mental shift. You have to consciously decide to replace that awesome feeling of being right with an even better feeling, the joy of just learning what's true, no matter who it comes from. Basically, stop trying to win the argument and start trying to find the truth. And when you do that, you open the door to what he calls thoughtful disagreement. It's about getting smart people who disagree with you in a room and really hashing things out. Like Dalio says, it's like your whole world goes from seeing in black and white to full color. You stop defending your own ideas and start working together to find the best possible answer, getting help from people who are strong exactly where you're weak.
And that leads us to the final piece of the puzzle. And honestly, this might be the most powerful idea of all. It flips the whole idea of success on its head. See, the real win isn't hitting your goals. It's the evolution you go through along the way. He has this amazing way of putting it. He says, the things we are striving for are just the bait. So what on earth does that mean? Just the bait. Think about it. The goals we set, the money, the promotion, whatever it is, they're just the lure. They're the things that get us off the couch and into the game. Because it's the struggle to get that bait that forces us to get smarter, tougher, and better. That personal evolution, that's the real prize. The person you become is way more valuable than whatever you were chasing. So, that leaves us all with a really big question to think about. If the struggle is the real reward, what's a struggle that's truly worth it for you? What's the thing you're willing to fight for, knowing that the fight itself is what will make you who you're meant to be?